Okay, we're back.
We're back. Alright, sorry about that, guys. We might have a couple of technical glitches, but hopefully it'll be okay. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I'm going to really use the head now to choose where I want to place my disconnection and how I'm going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all just come across, and I want quite a nice size section, because this is going to be creating my guide for this underneath here. And I'm thinking about the density of the hair and the dull. Just get this nice and framed out of the way. Yeah, down she goes. Now the angle of my section, I want to mirror the angle of the line that I'm going to be cutting. So let's just get this all coming nicely out of the way. Always, I tend to section the hair with the wide teeth. Then when I'm grooming it, I use the small teeth of the comb. That helps keeps it cleaner for me. Okay, so really clear now on where I'm working, yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to cut this graduated line. The reason it's graduated, I'm cutting it in my fingers, I want it to be a little bit softer. And I want to point somewhere around the nose, but I want to start, because I know this hair does jump a lot, I'm going to start with it being a bit longer. Get my fingers close to the skin as I can. I'm just going to work that line up to my knuckle, and then follow in the same way. Now notice how I'm holding my scissors, as opposed to bringing my fingers up and coming like this. If I do this, there's nothing wrong with that, but it means I'm going to have a more graduated line. So guys, please let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're tuning in from, how you're all doing. And if you have any questions, please ask. So I'm just going to move the hair around, see how that's sitting. And I can see if I want to be pointing a little bit higher here. So I've left it a little bit longer just for my own safety, to see how the hair reacts. And I'm just going to pick this up a little bit. Can you see how much this is jumping here through the front area? So now I'm really aware of how I'm going to have to blow dry this. I'm going to come down again and just take that up. And again, assess the shape we have. So that's looking a bit more like where I want my length to sit. I'm not really worried about the graduation in it, because I'm actually going to be layering this and flattening this down quite a bit. So I'm going to just come over and just refine that one more time. And then move on to my next section. Now what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be really mixing up my technique. So I'm working with the graduation here, very heavy graduated line. And what I'm going to do is almost straight away, because what I'm thinking about is there's going to be a fringe in here. Okay, and I want to really flatten out this area so this fringe can kind of sit across and over it. So what I'm going to have to do is start to elevate quite a lot. Now by elevation means I'm going to be moving into a layer. So I'm going to go from this graduated heavy line at the bottom and then start moving into something much flatter and textured in where the head starts to round. So if you see where we were previously, we were right down here. Now I know I've established a decent enough guide because I took quite a big section on my first section. So now what I'm going to start to do is come through and elevate this hair right up. So notice how I was previously inside of my fingers, now I'm working on the outside of my fingers. Guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. Give us a wave and a thumbs up. So nice to be doing another Slate live. I feel like I've been doing so many lives over this lockdown, so it's nice to be back doing the lives with the old team. Okay, and I'm going to keep on elevating each time. So from here, I've worked low, so I've come low in my comb, and then all of a sudden, I've brought it up. Okay, so my techniques come from a real heavy graduation into a layer, and what I'm going to do is come flatter and flatter and flatter. So really flatten out the widest point of the head through here. So I'm going to keep on carrying on my sections, and then I'm going to let the head tell me when to stop. So I'm going to use the bone structure as my guide to when to stop cutting. Okay. So when graduating, generally, I tend to work on the inside of my fingers. Now, can anyone tell me why I'm more likely to work on the inside of my fingers when I'm graduating, and why I'm more likely to work on the outside of my fingers when I'm layering? Let me know if anyone has an answer, and if not, I'll come to you in a sec. So we can really see, I'm really elevating that hair out now from the head. Flattening this all out. It's going to be quite fun, this haircut. I think it's going to be kind of one that I feel out as I go. Okay, I'm just taking really little sections. That way it's allowing me to manoeuvre my technique more. Because I'm working horizontally, my technique is actually now more difficult. Because if I'd have just worked vertically, it seems to be much easier, but what I want to control is my shape. So I'm using a horizontal technique to control the weight that's in my haircut by using elevation. The more I elevate, I know the more weight I'm going to remove from the haircut.
Diego has said something in Italian, which I think means thank you for this opportunity.
Oh,
hello.
Thank you so much, Diego. Monica speaks Spanish, but not quite Italian, but I'm sure she can get
Very
this.
similar, yeah.
So what I want to do is just start to really have a look at what's happening. You know, I'm not working with a mirror in here, so I just want to start to visually see how this is progressing. I think that's cool. I think I'm going to probably do one or two more sections through here to really flatten out that side. I don't want to work into the fringe, so make sure that we keep that isolated. And you know, I did this. I did a similar sort of haircut to this actually when we did. We were doing a show in Cyprus, and we had this amazing model, Barbara, with this really cool textured blonde hair, and someone had already cut like some short bits in her hair here. And I was like, oh, okay, and then, you know, managed to persuade her to go for a little fringe and stuff, and I thought it just worked really cool. So I'm just going to try almost like a different version of it here. And just try something a little bit different. And that's the part of the fun when you know, when you have the time to practice and to cut hair and to have a little bit of playtime. always do things that, you know, always try and push yourself and try and push yourself to do new ideas and things that maybe you're not that comfortable with. So I've got this really nice flat little side now, and I think this is one of those things that's really going to come together when the hair's all blow dried and flat and with the styling. But I know this is short in here, but I know that this hair in the front is going to be able to cover it. So I've kind of really mapped this out before I've started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of product on here, which is just like a conditioning spray. And just by combing that down, it's just going to help to aid the drying of it. When I do it later, it's just going to help start to smooth that right down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do something very similar on the other side now. So I'm going to really assess this, see how it's sitting. I'm just going to lift up this little corner in here. And all these little outline bits will be refined when we dry it. Okay, I'm just going to come over to the other side. I think the best way for you to see it, Jeff, let's stand over here. Okay. I'm just going to tilt the head in the same way, so just very slightly away from me. Guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. Please like and share the video. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have any questions, give us a shout. And if you're watching this back, not live, then please still throw a comment or a question in the comments, and I'll get back to you afterwards. All right. So again, I'm just going to groom the hair out of the way. Just got my granddad's comb over a little bit here, which is nice. Right. Okay, so you're going to come around here a little bit. Okay. This is nice and tight, so she doesn't go down. Alright, now what's really important here is I don't cut this side shorter than the other side. So what I'm going to do is I know where I was aiming for, so I'm going to start off and I'm just going to start again with it much longer than the length, and that way I'm going to start to assess my balance. Okay, so I know that's going to be longer. I just want to feel how much longer, then I can start to work it up. I think with balance it's a really tricky thing, so it's important that we kind of work and work and work until we get it right, rather than whipping this off too short and having to go back through the other side. So I'm really focusing about getting that towards the nose there. I'm just going to keep on feeling that until I feel like it's on the right track. So just a touch more. Now that's starting to look and point to in the face where I want it to. So I'm going to have one more little fill. Cool. Now I'm going to work exactly the same way, so I'm just going to start really to elevate really quite quickly. Now, as I said earlier, the difference between working between inside my fingers and on top of my fingers, okay? Now, inside my fingers, what I mean by that is when I'm working in here, look how difficult it is for me to elevate the hair. It's much harder, alright? It's much easier for me to bring it down because of my elbow. Now, as soon as I come up, look at my elbow lifts, which means it's much easier for me to lift. Hard for me to come through here. It's much harder for me to work down heavy. So when I'm lower, I'm inside my fingers. When I elevate more, I come on the outside of my fingers. I'm going to start to come through this now and elevate this all up. So guys, please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Monica's here, she can let me know if you do have any. I'm just constantly just assessing the shape as I work through. The reason I wanted to come straight up high as opposed to gradual is I wanted to keep that weight in the bottom. If I'd started low and then started to elevate quite quickly, I probably wouldn't be able to go as short as I want to through here, and I'd have taken too much weight out of the bottom. But I kind of want this establish this weight in here, and then elevate and get something quite nice and fitted through this kind of recession area on the head. So I haven't ever done this exact haircut like we're doing it, so it'd be quite interesting, quite fun to play around with it and see how it comes out. I always have a very strong idea in my mind of how something's going to come out. And you know, sometimes when I'm working more creatively like this, I'll have an idea, and maybe as I get closer to it, or as I work through it, my ideas will adapt and change. But 9 times out of 10, I have a very strong kind of vision of where I want to go with it. And the reason I wanted to do this was simply just because, you know, it's going to be very different to the other stuff that I've been doing recently. So I thought I'd challenge myself a little bit and take myself away from what I'm used to.
Olympia asks, in which texture of hair would you do this haircut?
I think what it comes down to with texture, it comes down to choices of length. Now, doing this on very straight hair, what I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to really flatten this area out because I'm layering it closer to the head. If we did that on curly hair, what would happen because we allow it to move more, it would probably bulk this out more. So I think we really need to be aware about the lengths. I'm going to come back to it because I always do. What I don't want, you know, you guys to see this and think I'm really just showing you a haircut. I want to try and, you know, talk a little bit more about hair cutting and what we're doing. So, you know, rather than this being a haircut, this is just my vision of a haircut. Okay? Really what it is, it's a combination of technique and shapes. It's a combination of different lengths is all it really is. So, you know, I've decided that I want this to be long through here. We could have left this length through here. On curly hair it would look amazing, you know, if you had this length through here and then something a bit more shrunk through here. I think what's important is that we're always aware of what's going to happen. Everything we do has a consequence. And as long as you're aware of that consequence, then really, you know, the choice is yours. It's for you to play, and that's why I think haircutting can be so fun.
Wilna says hi.
Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We're still not back at work here in the UK. We're still in quarantine. So let us know how you guys are getting on. If you managed to get back to work yet or not. Okay, so they're my two sides done, alright? Now, the way I've chose where I want this separation from the length at the back and the length at the front to be, I kind of chose where the widest point of the head is. So where the head starts to round in the front coming back, okay? Now, the reason I've done that is because all of this hair is much more likely to fall back than it is forward. So I'm going to work on this front area now and start to have a little bit of a play. And this is when, you know, understanding hair cutting can be really fun, which can really start to push different boundaries with it.
Olympia says, thank you, appreciate your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, so I'm going to section this off now with the front. Just start playing around with these lengths. So we can see we've got these lengths on this side. So what I'm going to do now is play around with what's going to happen through here and all this hair through here. Now I know that I want this length to be able to move back and sit over here. So I know I don't want these lengths to be connected. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and work again inside my fingers because I'm lower. Let me know, give us a thumbs up if everyone can see okay. I'm going to start in the centre and start to cut quite low elevation. Now, as you can see, as soon as I start to pull the hair out, although it looks like I'm cutting a square cutting line, which I am technically, but because I've got some elevation, the head rounds away from me. So naturally, you can see that that length is going to get longer towards the side of the head, the side of the face. I'm just going to move my body position, so if you can down here. So it's really important here, my body position. Now notice that I'm really directly in front of the dog, in front of this section that I'm cutting, so very parallel to it. What's going to happen, look at my fingers, as soon as I start to move my body around, my fingers start to move around. So your body position is really important through here when you're wanting to work square. Your body needs to be square, otherwise you'll be very likely to round off your shape. It's just another tool to minimise mistakes through your body position. Okay. And what I'm going to do in my next section, I'm going to work in the same way. Over the head. And like I said, I want these lengths to blend in some way with this hair at the back. So it's not going to connect, but visually I want it to blend. So if this length is this long at the back, and the length back here is that long, the blend's not going to work very well. So that's why I'm over-directing everything much more forward, okay, and that's going to give me a much better blend through here. And I'm really just going to play around with my elevation now. So I'm going to elevate this out slightly more than this one, slightly higher. Now when I'm doing this, try and think about my vertical shape. So what's going to happen through here? Now I've come from here and then to there, okay, so what's going to happen through here? All right, as I work. My next section I'm going to do something a bit different. So try and figure out what I'm doing vertically whilst working horizontally. I think that's a really, it was a real big changing point of my career when I started thinking much more three-dimensionally. So when I could understand what I was doing horizontally, and I was doing it vertically and vice versa, so I could be cutting something vertically and understand what I was doing horizontally, that's a really big thing for me. So I really focused on trying to learn that and practice it, and it really helped me a lot. Okay, cool. So now my next section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up
Hello from Poland.
Hello, hello.
Hello from Thai people in Norway.
Oh wow, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Me and Monica managed to go to Norway just before we got quarantined out. Such a beautiful country. Okay guys, so think about this. I've come here, I've elevated slightly more. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to elevate this up much higher. And remove this corner. Okay, what I'm going to do is, when I finish this, I'm going to put it out vertically for you to see.
Hi from Norfolk.
Hello. How are we? Guys, please, if you have any questions about the haircut, please don't hesitate to ask, let me know, and I'll come through it. Monica's getting her angle in, becoming a professional camera girl. Okay, so let's think about what I've done there, alright? Let's think about what I've done with the vertical. So I've come low, low, and then high, okay? So let's start to think about how this is going to look when I pull this out vertically, alright? Start to have a little think. Now what I'm going to do in my next section, I'm going to work horizontally again, and I'm going to start working with some disconnection now. So always just keeping my work really nice and clean, out the way. Now, I know that I've lifted something up in here, and now I'm bringing this forward, and there's my guideline, and I'm going to work about a centimetre past it, leaving it a little bit longer than my guide.
Justina says, I'm watching you for the second time. Thank you very much for taking the public time to choose interesting techniques in cutting.
Thank you so much, Justina. It means a lot to hear that. So thank you so much, and thank you for your support and tuning in. It really does mean a lot to us. So we know we're going to have some disconnection there now. Okay. And now this last section that I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it right forward again first. So what I want you to be thinking about here is not about this haircut specifically. This haircut is a bit of me, a bit of my taste, something that I wanted to play around with. What I need to start thinking about is what I'm doing and what that's creating, what I'm doing, okay? To me, that's what I think education misses a lot. That's what we try and do as Slate. We try and, rather than, you coming along to our academy and you teaching a course and you leaving knowing how to do one haircut, we want to try and teach you to understand a little bit more about hair cutting and the physics behind it. Because that's what gets me excited, that's what I like. And like anything, I can't teach anything or sell anything that I don't believe in. Now that last section that I've done, I've cut it, and now I'm going to pull that right back and take that corner off there. Again, think about my vertical shape, think about what we're doing here. You're going to see it in a second. And really, the reason I'm doing it is to create different texture for in the hair. If I just cut this fringe all down to the same point, it's going to sit very heavy and sit quite flat, it's not going to move very nicely. Hair by nature moves. So if we can encourage that, I think that's a really great thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this vertical shape that we've done, okay? So let's have a little think about it. So I've created these little disconnections throughout. So we started off low, okay, right down here. Then we came and we elevated up. Remember when we did that first area? And took that out. Then, our next section, we brought 2 right back down, a little bit longer than our original. Can you see? That's our original there. A little bit longer, pulled that down and out. And that last section, we just pulled back up and just took that corner off. You see in here? Okay? And that has removed that little bit of weight that would just sit over the top. Now, really, that is essentially what I want to do. I've basically completed my original technique, but now what I have to do is move the hair around and assess it. So I'm going to be doing quite a bit of refining. I'm going to blow dry the hair and do a fair bit of refining on it. I just want to see how this is all sitting. I think I might want to just take a little bit more out of these corners in here. I think a lot of us, you know, a lot of us tend to have an idea in our heads and then we can go a bit robotic with it. I think we've got to remember that we've got to look at what we're doing. It's really important. Have a look. See just that little corner? Just want to remove that. Now think about how this is going to sit down here. It's just going to push that hair away a little bit more in this corner so it doesn't sit too heavy in there. That's the purpose of it. Everything should have a purpose. Everything has a consequence, and everything should have a purpose. So that's the main thing I try and teach to my assistants. Is that, you know, don't just cut hair because it's there. Don't just cut a corner off because it's there. Think about what it's doing. It's not about what we're doing up here, it's about how it relates to how it falls down here. I think it's really important that we, you know, me included, we all think about that. Just doing the same, taking that bit of corner away. Cool, now I'm going to release the hair at the back. Start to look at my shape. Now for some reason whenever I'm looking at things I always use my wider comb. Okay, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring that from here. So I'm going to completely ignore the hair that I've already cut on that top. And I'm going to layer into this back area slightly more. And what that's going to do is just going to help the whole thing blend together a little bit more. So we can see where our length is through here. I'm going to think about how much weight I want to keep in there, and length, and bring that right up. And remove this big amount of weight through the top. I'm going to bring everything back to that section. Because I'm really, now why am I doing that? Just think, okay, why am I doing that? Why am I bringing everything back to that section? Why am I not following the head shape? Okay, I want to keep the weight and the length from this outline through here. What I want to remove, where I want to blend is internally in here. So that's why I'm over directing the hair back to the centre. Now notice my body position here. What I'm doing is I'm standing on the side where I want to pull the hair towards. So I'm always, when I'm at the other side, I'm going to swap my body position. Now naturally we tend to pull the hair towards us. So it's just another aid that's going to help us do that. And then really with something like this, it's going to be really fun to, when we've dried it, to then really get the, you know, all the detail coming through. That's, you know, when I work in the salon, what I tend to do is I try, you know, if you think we've got, I don't know how long you guys have, let me know how long you guys get actually for a haircut in the salon, I'd be interested to know. I personally have an hour for like wash, cut and blow dry. And what I try and tend to do, in the first, I try and get my wet shape in maybe, you know, the first 20 minutes, half an hour, as good as I can. And then from there, I can really blow dry and then refine everything when it's dry, so I have time to really work on all the detail when it's dry. Okay, now, normally I'll just take my body round rather than fine, put on a doll. I'm just going to move the dolly head round and then start to work on the opposite side. Now remember, the reason I work like this is because I want to pull the head towards me. So over directing everything back to that centre point. Guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're liking the video, please give us a thumbs up. Please like and share the video. Or tag any friends that you think might be interested in it or might benefit from it.
Debbie said, seen a lot of mullet haircut demonstrations. Are they coming back into fashion?
Do you know what I find? I'd say yes. I'd say that, you know, I work, our academy's in Soho, and you know, I do clients in East London as well, and all the little hipster kids and all these cool girls that have been my models for, you know, a long time, they're all coming in asking me for mullets. It's an interesting one. But yeah, I suppose in a sense, yeah, they are. But I guess it's how they're done. You know, like I still want to try and make it look expensive. So that's why I still focus on a strong technique within what I'm doing. Let me twist that round.
Hello from Poland.
Hello. Thank you so much for watching, tuning in. I'm just going to really start now, just having a little look, and assessing what we have, and thinking about how I want to wear this. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blow dry the hair. So I'm just going to want to blow dry it really nice and smooth, even though I'm going to be wearing it with quite a lot of texture. I'm going to blow dry it really smooth, and then I'm going to use a lot of different like freehand techniques and texturizing techniques to get this shape to all move and blend how I want it.
Mark says hello from Florida.
Hello Mark, how are we doing? I imagine there's quite a few mullets down in Florida, isn't there? I bet it must be nice over in Florida this time of year. Okay, so this is a bit of a boring bit, but it's so important that we do focus and get a really good blow dry in here. So I'm just going to tilt the head down, I'm just going to work with a vest brush and just really work on getting everything nice and flat and smooth.
James, what products are you using?
So what I've got is I've just got here the milkshake, the 12 Effects Incredible Milk, which is just going to help me smooth through the hair. And then I've got the Muck Argan Oil on it as well, so using those two, just to give the hair a bit of shine and help me flatten it out a touch. But I think I really want to see how this is looking on dry hair, so I can assess it, and then I can really start to alter what I've already got. Sort that up a touch. So guys, if you have any questions, please ask. Let me know. Tighten that up.
Jeff said, sorry James, didn't know you were on. Can you start again?
This video will be on our page, so if you wanted to, you can always go back from the beginning when we're done. I'll do a recap for you anyway. A lot of the haircut is actually going to be done with the hair dry, so there's still a lot to be seen, I think. So what we're aiming for here, guys, is to kind of have these two haircuts. So something much shorter in the front. We'll have this length in the back, but to get some kind of blend through there as well. And we really want to get that nice and smooth. I always find with the blow drying, if I can get it smooth first, then I can always mess it up later. If I dry it messy, it's much harder to make it smooth. Really, I'm using a wrap drying technique, so really wrapping the hair around the head to get that nice shine through it.
Karen says, love the mullet.
Thank you.
Julie says, hi from Norfolk.
From Norfolk?
Mm-hmm.
Close by.
Maggie says, hi James, you started back at work this week in Guernsey.
Oh, did you? Oh, hi Maggie, how are you doing? Oh, lucky you. We're still looking at the 4th of July, the earliest, I think, we've been told. So it'll be not too long. I can't wait to go back to work. It feels like it's been forever. It's going to be interesting to see how it feels with all the PPE and stuff, and if it's still going to feel like a comfortable experience for clients, you know. So I'm really what I'm doing here is I'm really focusing on the roots. And then when all the roots are dry, I'm then going to start to play around with the ends a bit more, smoothing those out. I tend to use two different brushes for when I'm doing the wrap drying and when I'm doing the finishing, like the leaf drying or tension drying. I always find these best brushes amazing because they've got the roundness on them, so you can really help get a nice bevel.
Gina says, thank you from California.
Oh, hello from California. I've always wanted to go to California. I've always wanted to go to San Diego. I think it's amazing. Whereabouts in California are you? Let us know. Right, I'm just going to come through now and just start to work on that underneath a little bit more. So working now, I've gone for more of a tension, a brush with more tension. I'm going to start focusing and just smoothing out the hair through the underneath. down the hair shaft of the hairdryer. So like I said, we can mess it up later. Just want to get it smooth first. I don't want to, because I'm going to be cutting the hair more as well, I'm going to be still working on it. I don't want to really blow dry it into place. I still want to allow the hair to move. So I'm just looking at natural fall and just moving through. I sometimes find when you use straighteners on hair, and then you're still going to cut a lot off, the hair kind of goes into like shock mode and like stands out. Especially like fringes and stuff, if you're not careful with it. So I always think focus a bit more on your blow dry, and then you can play around a little bit more with the refining.
Gina says San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, stunning. That sounds absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to swap my hands now when blow drying the other side. And the reason being is because with the handle facing this side, the hair's more likely to kick this way.
Julie would like to know what hairdryer you're using.
So this is just the Dyson hairdryer. I find it's really good because it's really light and it's really quiet. So if you're doing these live, sometimes if you've got a big, really loud hairdryer, and no one can hear me what I'm doing. So I find that these work really nicely. It's not, they don't get too hot. I've heard really mixed reviews on them, but for me, I really like it. My favourite hairdryer I've ever used was, I think they were used a lot more back in like the 80s, 90s. So these old hairdryers called Wiggos, and they're like really heavy, big metal hairdryers. So they've got this real sharp like, concentration of air. They're amazing, lovely. Has anyone used one? Has any of you guys ever seen a Wiggo or used a Wiggo? Amazing hairdryer. Nice and straight out. You can start to see what we've got.
Monica says hi from Poland.
Hello, thanks for tuning in.
Julie asks, says your nozzle on the hairdryer, is that joined on? Can you remove
No, it's not. I'll show you. It's quite hot, but it's magnetic.
Ooh.
So very fancy. And they've got a couple of different ones. What I will say is it's the best. They've got a diffuser. That's magnetic as well. It's the best diffuser I've ever used for the Dyson. I have to say, it's amazing. So I'm just going to do my last little bit now, and then I'm going to start to come back through and refine.
Gina says that she has a Dyson now and it's very temperamental.
Really? Yeah, I think, it's a bit like hit and miss, isn't it? As long as you, I do tend to, every day when I'm doing like full column appliance, so I tend to clean the filter every day. I'm just going to come round now, just the last couple of little bits. Nice and smooth, all the way through to those ends.
Gina says Wiggo is the best.
Yoo-hoo. I agree, I love it. Okay.
And Jeff says to Google the IQ Gamma dryer.
Oh yes, Jeff. So Jeff, we've cut hair together, me and Jeff, and he bought his camera along. Yeah, it's amazing actually. It's so powerful. His haircuts were dry about 20 minutes before everyone else's. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start bit by bit, okay? Just going to start assessing, looking at what I like, looking at what I don't like, and going from there. So we can see how we have this, how flat this is, and we have this texture. But all this length from the fringe moves over and sits over that, which I like, but I still think there's a little bit too much in this corner, so I'm going to come and remove that shortly. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to add a little bit more into this. So again, like I said, you know, when I started, I'm going to really use the head and the bone structure to play with this. So I want it to be more of a, you know, if I was working a triangle graduation, I'm thinking about my sections, about how I'm going to work it, very structured, my balance. With something like this, I'm going to be much looser in my approach. I think it's, you know, it's nice to be able to do both. For me, I think, you know, I remember my old manager said to me, there's two different kind of haircutters. You can either be a feeler or a technical one, like a mathematician. And he said that I was a feeler, because I feel the hair more as opposed to be really, really precise with my sectioning. So that from then, I was like, no, I can't have that. So then I'd focus everything on being more technical. And now I like to, you know, I try to be able to go between the two. I think if you can go between the two, then that's a really great thing. Okay, so I'm going to come through here now in the vertical. And this excess length that we have here, I'm going to follow this imaginary line. Can you see? So I'm going to comb that out again so you can see. There's where we elevated the hair up, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect in this imaginary line here. So it's got a flow to it. And again, I'm going to come round. So I'm going to actually pivot around the head now and connect that through. Guys, any questions? Again, always go for it. I'm actually, I'm really excited to start doing these back at the academy as well. You know, we've got our little team there with Michael and Francesco and Greg. We've not been able to see for quite a long time, so it's going to be really nice just to see everyone. See how people have changed. I know Francesco, who works with us, he's a great little haircutter. He's been cutting away every day. So it's going to be really cool to see, you know, for us to compare different things, what we've done, what we've learned, what we can adapt. What I want to do is I want some connection through here, so we can see how this is completely disconnected. I'm going to use this point at the front. I'm just going to use that point at the fringe there and connect that through. It's still very, very disconnected to that underneath, but I'm just looking for something, some kind of blend through it. That's still too heavy for me there. So I'm going to over-direct less. Come down more into this length. So really feeling it out, you know, really working it as I see it. And using the knowledge of hair cutting, understanding what my consequences are and what I do, create what I want to create. Okay, now we have that. What I'm going to do here is now just connect it into this line. Okay, we can see we've got this little line through here. I'm going to make sure the hair I don't want is all nice and combed out of the way. This into natural form. You're just going to start chipping away at that line, making sure Clarice doesn't fall over on me. Guys, by the way, if you want a recommendation for doll's heads, I find that these guys are called Exalto Professional, French company. You can find them on Instagram and chuck them a message, but they're really, really great dolls. This one's called Clarice. Clarice and Lilo. We're actually going to start, because we actually do a curly cutting course as well at Slate. And they've got these wicked, cool, like curly dolls, which are almost a bit like afro, which are really fun to work with. So, I want to get that strength, but when I've got it, then I want to see how it moves. That's what's really important to me. The movement of the hair. Okay, let's get the head up again. Yeah, I like it. I think, some of this is still a bit wide, but when I come through it, I think it's going to look really cool. Okay, so I'm going to connect again. Yeah. The same way. So still keeping the disconnection. And I know that I don't want to come as high now because I don't want to leave as much length through the bottom. The higher I come, okay, the more length I'm going to leave down here because it has to travel further. The lower I come, the more I know I'm taking away. Guys, let me know if that makes sense, and let me know if any of this is actually helping at all understand just the principles of hair cutting. That's what I really want this live to be about. It's more about the principles of hair cutting, as opposed to really learning a haircut, if that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts, either way. It'd be interesting to know. Quite like, there is something quite nice about having dry hair, that kind of real instant gratification that you get.
Maltese says, hi, good day.
Hello, good day to you too. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, let me know if what I'm doing is making sense to you. If you can if you're following. Really, just focusing on this front area, I cut the back beforehand, working something, really classic in the back, and then mixing things up a bit. Okay.
Chris says, hi from Bristol, loving your work.
Thank you so much, Chris. Okay. So I think, this is still feeling a little bit wide to me now, but it's starting to look more how I want it to. It's still starting to have more of the blend that I wanted. I don't want it to look too mullety, I wanted it to kind of still have a nice feel to it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to really now point into all of this hair. So I'm going to really shatter everything I've done. I've used technique, okay, to maintain structure in it. And that structure's still going to be there in the underneath, but I want to really break it up now by pointing into it. And if you can see, I'm going to really come at quite an angle to really dishevel and deconstruct what we have. So I've put an element in, and now I'm adding to it or removing it. But even though we're taking away a lot of hair, that original element is still going to be there, because there's still going to be the shorter areas and the longer areas where we put them. See that area, that texture that we're going to have on the underneath? This is going to really bring this out. We're still covering it with that excess length. And then once I've done this, that's when the refining is all going to come through with all the fringe and everything. I'm going to refine all that for you. Guys, let us know, have you worked anything like this before? Have you kind of done a short and long thing? Let me know. The same idea. Coming nice and deep. The more of an angle that my scissors have, the more hair I'm going to be removing. I'm not worried about the disconnection now, because that's still going to be there. I'm just coming through the whole thing. What that's going to do is just going to visually blend it a little bit more. Okay. Last section. Right, and now really what it is just for breaking up this length and moving it and seeing how this fringe to sit. So I'm going to comb it all down first to assess what it's looking like at the minute and where it needs a bit of work. So I'm just going through here, just going to sharpen that up a little bit. Even though when I wear this, I'm going to wear it much more textured, I want to make sure that when the hair's down, it's going to look nice in everywhere. Has anyone got any questions or anything? Let me know. If you're watching this back, and I will still answer your questions. I'll come through every day for the next week or so and just check out Check out what you guys are saying. Okay, so where we have this kind of roundness in here, this softness in here, I just want to try and strengthen that up a little bit. So for you to be able to see. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just going to come. I'm going to put a bit of pressure with my hand.
Chris said that he worked at Tony and Guy in Bristol and London, worked the same techniques. Brilliant.
Oh, cool. I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoy it. You know, it's all about kind of, I don't think it's really about trying to do something new, because it's not always, you know, it's not about trying to see what's been done and I'll do it or do it better. It's just about, you know, trying to do something that puts your stamp on something, maybe, you know. Really open up that part there. So it really kind of shuts it in through there.
Sebastian says hi, James Akers.
Hello Sebastian, how are we doing? I'm just going to have a little play around with an idea here. Just doing this real broken but strange fringe. I think we'll add something a bit interesting. It's quite interesting already, I suppose, isn't it? It's got quite a lot going on, but like I said, you know, with I've said it previously in previous lives that I've done, what I've really tried to do when I cut hair is I really try to have, you know, mainly over maximum 2, generally 1 kind of focal points to the haircut. I don't, you know, sometimes I do things that look a bit more, like there's a bit more going on, but I don't like things to be too busy, if that makes sense. I quite like simplicity to the eye. I think, you know, when you're working something very technical and very, very strong, to get something still very, very simple to look at is actually a really big challenge. And that's what I like to try and do myself. I'm starting to like that now. I'm starting to think that's looking quite cool. See how just pointing through, you still have all these different lengths through there. It just moves so much better now. And when I dress this, I think I'm going to dress it a bit crazy. Guys, please let me know what you think. Let me know if you hate it, you might, that's fine. Almost there now. So I think, you know, I think I've achieved what I've set out to do, really. It does, you know, obviously it is very disconnected, but it does have a visual element of blend. It doesn't look I don't think, anyway, it looks like an ugly blend. I think it's still quite beautiful. You know, it's strong, but it's soft, which I'm all about. Elements of strength with this real nice softness coming through. You know, as the hair moves, it can sit over, and it works. Yeah, cool. I'm going to get a bit of product now and run it through. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. I don't know if there is a thumbs down, so look, then you can do that. And guys, if you could like and share the video, I would really appreciate it. Oh, hello. That's a bit white, isn't it? I've never used this before. It needs a good shake. I like that, doesn't it? So I'm just going to get in front of the camera very quickly so I can see.
Davide says, great haircut as always.
Thank you so much, Davide. Is that Davide Spinelli?
Yeah.
He did a live for us. When was it, Davide? Was it 2 days ago? So cool. I love it when you see something and you go, how did they do that? I feel like I get that a lot when I watch Davide's work. So yeah, go and check him out on our Slate Lives. He did the last one. It's really super cool styling, super amazing cutting, bit of razor, bit of scissors, but I really liked the way he did it.
Diego says, bravissima.
Thank you so much, Diego.
Monica says, brilliant.
Thank you, guys. It's a bit like Medusa or something. Isn't it? Maleficent. It's cool. It's very different to what I normally do, but I think you've got to put yourself out of your comfort zone every now and then. Just have a, you know, I actually really enjoyed this. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. How's that looking?
Good.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. Now we can really see, can you see the print now? Having that shortness in here, that short little texture, and then this length sitting over it, just really helps the hair move. Do something a bit different. So I'm just going to give it a last little look. Make sure that I'm happy with what I'm presenting. So yeah, you know, looking back on it now, I might have even come in there and rounded this a little bit more, taken a bit more of this weight out, just the way it moves. But that's part of, you know, that's part of it. Looking how you do things differently. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. My name is James Akers. This is my haircut within a haircut. So I'll just do a really quick recap. What I did was originally I just put in this little triangular baseline, okay, before we started the live, and just undercut just below the widest point of the head, just as a little flat layer, just to allow that to move a little bit more, okay. I then started on the side and worked in a heavy, graduated line in my fingers, okay. Did my first section quite big to establish a nice guide, and straight from there started to elevate out, 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 or up, 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 I should say. Okay, so thinking, if I get my comb, what we've got is we're coming out here, then straight into this much flatter shape internally. Okay, then we did exactly the same for the other side, so heavy, flat, flattening out this wide point of the head. Okay, bear with me. Sorry, Monica's just feeling a little bit faint. We're almost done. Just 1 second. And then we just brought this down, up, down, okay? And this is the finished look, much looser. Monica's about to pass out, so I'm going to say goodbye to you all, but thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, see you next time.